It was different this time, but it was the same dream. I kept hoping that you were going to be there to tell me that it was...
Solo era un sueño, pero no fue así. Estaba sola en la habitación de papá. Me sentía pequeña como una niña, con esas enormes máquinas y con esa pantalla que marca los latidos. Era inmensa, lo envolvía todo y allí estaba esa voz. Llamándome, suplicándome que actuara y le dejase morir. No vas a morir, no vas a morir. A veces era mi voz.
No lo hagas.
Otras la de papá. ¿Me abrazas?
Sí. Oh, cariño. Una puesta de sol preciosa.
Si subes en un avión y vas hacia el horizonte, siempre ves la puesta de sol. De día y de noche.
¿Quieres que separe el tiempo?
Sí, por favor. Y nada podrá alcanzarme. Nada.
Te quiero.
Hola. ¿Hay alguien en casa? Hola.
Sí, entra, Kirk.
Hey, how you guys doing? Look, I'm sorry to come by so late, but Jack wanted me to get in touch with you as soon as possible.
What is it, the merger?
No, this has nothing to do with the merger. It's your mother. I have some bad news about her case.
Go ahead, Mason. Tell Brandon the truth. Oh, Brandon, you'll believe what Mason says, won't you? You trust him. Well, what are you waiting for? You know the truth, Mason. You've known it for years. There's no reason to keep it a secret any longer.
Gina, Santana, what's going on?
What is wrong with you, Gina? Why can't you give up? The facts are going to come out, whether you like it or not. That's right, they are, but you're the one who's not going to like it.
Well, I can see that you two ladies have a lot to talk about, and Brandon and I want to be alone while we talk, don't we, Brandon?
Yes.
So, let's spare the boy the actual drawing of blood, shall we? You two can air your differences out here, behind closed doors.
Mason! Mason! Mason, let me... Mason, open the door!
She's still writing letters to Joe. Love letters he'll never read. No one can compete with that.
There's a poem I learned when I was a little girl. Mark Twain wrote it a long time ago. Warm summer sun, shine kindly here. Warm southern wind, blow softly here. Green sod above, lie light, lie light. Good night, dear heart. Good night. Good night. Goodbye, Joe. Sorry, didn't mean to break your concentration. Not really. I mean, I had every intention of breaking your concentration. Really into this tonight, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. We have a deadline. We have to meet it no matter what. You said so yourself.
So I did. How responsible of me. Tell me, Mr. Hartley, is that what attracted you to Kelly Capwell? Was her irresistible, no-nonsense attitude?
Come on, Kelly, please. I can't see.
All Sorry. Hey, good idea, putting both these pictures on the same page.
Yeah, I thought so.
Hey, Nick, could you try something for me?
What?
Putting the top one on the bottom, just to see what it looks like. I just, wanted to see.
Kelly, who's the photographer here? You or me?
Look, I didn't say it had to be that way. I was just curious as to how it would look.
I've been studying composition for years. I think I have a reasonable idea how those shots should be arranged.
I wasn't criticizing you.
Fine.
What's wrong?
Nothing.
What, did you feel deserted because I left you for so long?
You have a right to take a walk for as long as you want to.
Well, obviously something happened.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Like you said, I got involved in the work. Don't you want me to take this seriously?
Of course I do.
I don't think you know what you want.
What does that mean?
You blow hot and cold, Kelly. About a lot of things.
Nick, I am very committed to this book, and I think I've worked just as hard on it as you have. So how can you accuse me of blowing hot and cold just because I question one small detail?
All I'm saying is that this book is business. It's serious business.
I know that.
Then how come we have never discussed money? Huh? I've taken time away from paying assignments to work on this project. You know the bind I was in trying to raise my brother's tuition. I don't think it's unreasonable for me at all to want to know what my percentage of this book is going to be.
Well, I'm sorry. I just thought that we would wait until somebody actually bought the book.
That's
and
a
then
little late for us to be talking about how we share the profits. This all should have been settled long ago in writing. Well, I guess something like that would never cross your mind. You never had to concern yourself with the everyday problems of dollars and cents like the rest of us. Maybe it's time you did.
So what about Sophia's case? The trial's been set 2 weeks from today.
2 weeks?
Yeah. Manslaughter? Yeah.
Well, can she win? Kirk?
I'm not a lawyer.
Well, I know that. What does Jack say?
Jack says no.
What do you mean, no?
No means 2 years. I mean, it could be as little as 2 years.
2 years in prison?
What else did Jack say? Well, just that this trial isn't going to be your church picnic variety. I mean, the district attorney here is well aware of the publicity this thing's going to be attracting. So if he wants to come across as Mr. Law and Order, he just has to be tough on his well-heeled defendant. And he will be.
Does she know?
No, I was just on my way to tell her. In fact, I was wondering if you'd come along with me.
Why?
Well, look, she's never met me before. This is not the world's greatest news, Eden. Jack just thought it might help if you were there. Yeah, we'll both come along. All right, good.
Kirk, I'd like to ask you something.
Yeah, sure.
I assume that the entire family will be called on to testify.
Yes, I think that's Jack's plan. You'll all be called. What's wrong?
It's just that some recent developments these past few weeks have not left me with too kind an opinion about my mother.
I don't understand. It's a long story.
You see, some disturbing news has been revealed about the man that my mother was accused of killing, however accidentally.
Right, your brother Channing.
My half-brother. He was not my father's child.
Who's then? Another man, Lionel Lockridge. Sophia kept it a secret for years.
So you can understand how my family felt when they found out, especially my father. As a matter of fact, I find it directly responsible for the reason my father had a stroke.
I didn't realize any of this. Eden, there was a chance you would have had that.
Your father has left you out of the messy details, and I thought it was only fair that you should know how I feel about getting on the stand to defend my mother. Now, I can't speak for Ted and Kelly. I can only speak for myself. And for me, it would be almost impossible.
Listen, come on now. Think of what's at stake.
What? Well, what, you want me to defend my mother's sterling character? Trustworthy, loyal. Is
We're
that what
talking
you're
about two different issues here, all right? She's not going on trial for lying about Jenny, but for killing him. Now, she may be guilty of the first, but she's certainly not guilty of the latter, so don't confuse those issues.
It is not going to be easy.
Well, forget easy and let's talk about what's right. Is it right for her to go to jail for something that's basically an accident? You want that on your conscience, Eden?
Why is Mason in there with Brandon? One of you better tell me what's going on.
It's none of your business, so stay out of it.
I'll tell you.
I told you, leave her out of this. This is between you and me and Brandon.
Mason is going to tell Brandon the truth. In a few minutes, my son is finally going to know who his real mother is.
Dream on, Santana. Mason is not going to make any trouble where Brandon is concerned. He's going to make sure that things stay just the way they've always been.
Wait a minute, Santana. I thought you agreed you never wanted Brandon to know the truth. You were resolved not to tell him because you thought it'd be for his own good.
I was, but Gina changed all that. She was the one who threw everything up for grabs.
What?
It was an accident.
Brandon overheard Gina say that she wasn't his real mother. When she realized what had happened, she tried to talk her way out of it, but Brandon sensed something. He refused to believe her.
He wouldn't believe you either. That's why he's talking to Mason.
You mean Brandon expects to get the true story from Mason, is that it?
He said he'd believe whatever Mason told him.
And Mason is not going to tell him that you're his mother. I know that.
Why don't you just face it? You destroyed Brandon's trust in you, and now you're going to lose him. Should have happened long ago.
You don't seem very worried, Gina. Why do you think that Mason will decide in your favor?
Because Mason knows I'll be a better mother to Brandon.
Oh, I see. It has nothing to do with those papers you've been trying to hide behind your back.
What are you accusing me of?
Oh, I just think you might be holding something over Mason's head, and I'd love to know what it is.
You have quite an imagination, don't you, Sophia?
I don't care what you think you've got over Mason, but it's not going to work.
Oh, really? Believe whatever you want to believe.
And even if it did work, what would be the point?
What do you mean?
You're only buying a little time, don't you see? The seed of doubt has already been planted in Brandon's mind, and from now on, he'll always wonder. And even if he doesn't find out the truth today, something inside him will always keep looking until he does find it.
That's not going to happen, and if it does, I will handle it.
Why don't you ask Sophia what it's like to have a grown child finally discover that his mother has been lying for years?
That's different. Sophia never really had a real relationship with her children. It was easy for them to turn against her.
You're very smug, Gina. I hope it doesn't come back to haunt you.
Oh, baby.
Santana.
Listen. Thanks.
Well, that answers a few burning questions. Mrs. Capwell called you, I assume?
Yeah. I'm sorry it took me so long to get out here, but I'm finished now. So can you tell her I'll send her the bill?
Certainly.
Thanks.
Very clever, Gina. One place I never thought to look.
Away from me. Get him away from me.
No matter what you have to say to her right now, Mason, this is not the time.
Brandon trusted you. How could you do that to him? You're evil, Mason. You're an evil man, and one of these days, Brandon's gonna hate you just as much as I do. All he wanted was the truth. He was ready. Brandon was ready to accept me. I could see it in him.
Darling, he is so young. It would have been a tremendous adjustment for him.
I would have helped him. We would have helped each other.
Listen to me, Santana. Even if Mason had told Brandon the truth, do you think Gina would have let him go just like that? No, she would have fought. She never would have allowed a settlement. That would have meant court cases, custody battles. And even if you won, at what cost to that little boy?
What is it costing now? A child shouldn't live a lie. He shouldn't live with a mother like Gina.
All right, you're going to have to face the truth whether you like it or not. Brandon loves Gina. She is the only mother that he has ever known. If you tried to take him away, it would be devastating for him.
It's not fair, Sophia. All I wanted to do was love him and take care of him. I don't want to hurt him.
I know.
You don't know. You're right up there with the rest of them saying that Brandon is better off with Gina because he's used to her.
Santana, it's not that simple.
I don't want to hear it. What's the use?
Santana, you okay?
No.
And what's that about?
There's always something in this house. It doesn't even feel like home anymore. Excuse me, I'll get Sophia.
She's been, it's been pretty rough on her the last few months, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, she didn't need her mother's trial right now, that's for sure.
What's your father's strategy going to be? Has he discussed the details with you?
Well, I think he's going to be counting pretty heavily on character witnesses. I don't think he is thrilled with what he has to work with.
Well, then what about a plea bargain? She could cop a deal, right? She could plead guilty to involuntary manslaughter and get off with a suspended sentence.
Well, you think she'd be up for that?
If she's smart.
I don't know. I mean, I could recommend that, Jack. I agree with you. It's probably the best way to go. Yes, Mrs. Armonti. Kurt Cranston, it's a pleasure.
Yes, Mr. Cranston.
I bring regards from Washington.
Yes, he just told me that your father has some news about my case.
Yes, he does. Could we sit down?
Certainly, come in here.
We'll be here. Guess I should call Kelly and let her know that we have to stick by Mom during the duration of the trial.
So you're going to go along with me then?
When you're right, you're right.
All right, say that again, will you?
Don't be a glutton.
Come on, say it again. I'd like to hear that.
When you're right, you're right.
All right, sounds good.
Hello? Yes, this is Eden Capwell. Yes, I'll hold.
Who is it?
Police commissioner.
I know one person. He's not...
Yes, Mr. Commissioner. No, Jack Lee's in Washington. Do you need his D.C. phone number? No. Oh, okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
What are you doing?
Calling Kelly?
Just a second. Why does the commissioner need to get in touch with Jack Lee?
What do you think he's doing?
I have a theory, and I hope it's wrong. Just tell me you didn't have anything to do with this.
Look, I don't see the harm.
You called Jack and got him to intercede for me with the commissioner?
Don't you want your job back? Don't you care?
Eden, if I want my job back, I'll get it back myself. I don't need you making secret phone calls for me. Damn it, when are you gonna learn?
I guess you think it's crass to talk about money?
I just didn't realize it was first on your list of priorities. Look, Nick, when we started this book, we didn't even think we had enough to fill it. It was an experiment. It was not a cut and dried contract. And I thought you saw it that way, too.
No, this has gone beyond the experimental stage. I think we have something here we can make a go of. Your publisher friend just might want it.
And if he does?
If he does, we should right now decide how we're going to split the profits, because by the time it gets to be published, it may be too late.
Why? What's going to change between now and then?
Anything. Kelly, things like this happen all the time, you know? One day you're a team and the creative partnership is running very smoothly, and all of a sudden you have a falling out, you have a disagreement, and now the collaboration just doesn't work anymore. And that's why it's a very wise idea to have all these financial arrangements taken care of beforehand.
In case we're not speaking to each other when the profits roll around?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're speaking theoretically, of course.
Of course.
Bull.
Kelly, I don't know why you're resisting this. It's common practice to draw up a contract, whether you're friends or not.
Yeah, but it seems to me that we don't happen to be friends anymore.
Come on, don't be ridiculous. Now, all I'm talking about here is simply us drawing up
You are being
groundwork
ridiculous. You're talking about being sensible and businesslike, and you're furious at me. What is wrong? What's going on here? Forget the phone.
Hello. Yes, she is. Hold on just a second. It's for you. I think it's Eden.
Hello? Yeah, I'm in the middle of something right now. What? Okay. No, it's all right. I understand. Okay, I'll be there as soon as I can. Bye. Mom's trial date's been set, and then the family wants to talk about it. So I have to go.
Bye.
Is there any point in my coming back?
I don't know, Kelly. It's up to you.
You lost your job because of me. It's only right that I should do something to help you get it back.
It's not how I operate, and you know it. Sophia, are you okay?
Yes, I am. I'm a little shaky. I don't know why I expected this sooner or later.
Yeah, well, it's got to be a shock.
Yes, it is. But it shouldn't be a long, drawn-out affair. I think my case will consist of Jack putting me on the stand and my telling the truth to the judge. It should be over very quickly. Eden, I know that you and the family were going to participate in this case with me, but I want you to know I no longer hold you to that.
I promised you that I'd testify. I'm still willing to.
The promise was made under different circumstances, darling. I wouldn't want you to compromise yourself in any way. I can get through this myself.
You know, there is an option, which might allow you to avoid much of the ordeal of a trial.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it might be the best thing.
What?
Well, I haven't discussed it with Jack yet, but the fact is I think he might be willing to go along with it. More importantly, if you'll consider it.
This has anything to do with making a deal? Absolutely not.
Now, wait a minute. Miss Armonti, look, if you plead guilty to... Now, wait a minute. I want you to hear me out here. You know, your chances of convincing a jury without the support of your family, the full support of your family, they're very slim. But by pleading guilty to involuntary manslaughter, hold on, involuntary manslaughter, you know, not only do you have a chance for a suspended sentence, but you just might not spend any time in jail at all.
I am not guilty. I do not want to stand in front of a judge and say that I am.
Well, we're talking degrees here. I think you should listen to Kirk. His suggestion makes sense.
Well, you know, and give Cruz the credit. He's the one that brought it up.
Another thing to consider, if this does go to trial, you're not going to have Cece to testify that he loaded that gun.
That's true.
Will you at least think about it?
All right, I'll think about it. And now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to talk to you alone for a minute, Eden.
We'll wait outside.
They're right about the plea bargaining. It's really your only chance.
Eden, I didn't ask you to stay to talk about legalities. I want to talk about you and me. Is there any chance we can ever have any trust between us again?
I think it's a little too late for that.
All right, then do this for me. Just listen to my side of it. You don't have to say anything. Just listen. Will you do that?
So we've been trying to tell her that pleading guilty is the best thing for everyone.
Mom.
It's not what I would do if the choice were completely up to me.
But it is up to you. You're the one who's been charged and the one who has to accept what the court decides. I don't think any of us should tell her what to do.
But it's not as simple as that, Kelly.
Kelly, listen to me. If I plead not guilty, what about the people who are going to have to testify for me? Now, I want you to be very honest. Would you feel comfortable getting up on that stand saying you have complete faith in me?
I have complete faith that you didn't intend to kill Channing.
But it's more than that. It's a full endorsement of Mama's character. It could get very tricky.
Well, then what choice do we have? Either we believe that she's innocent or we don't. And if we do, we have to be prepared to say that publicly.
And we have to be prepared also to have our family name dragged through the mud publicly. Now, I don't think we need that after what's happened to Ted with Daddy's illness, have reporters and people pulling pot shots at the Capwells.
Now, wait a minute. Ted came out of that trial with his name totally cleared. And that's all Mom is asking for is a chance to clear her name.
But there's another thing, and that's Jack. And that he doesn't think that we have a chance of winning this trial.
I see. Well, then it's up to Mom, I guess. But I think it's totally wrong. I mean, she has the right to tell the story how it really happened. And if we force her to plead guilty, she'll never be able to do that.
You know what I'm doing right now? I'm thinking what your father would say right now if he could. I think that he might agree with you, Eden, on dragging the family name through the mud. And I really believe that he'd have second thoughts about supporting me in this trial.
Yeah, maybe, Mom. But I know that if it came right down to it, he wouldn't want any shortcuts. Look, he may throw you out of the house, but as long as he's believed that you are not guilty of killing Channing, he would show up in that court to say so.
A plea bargain would at least guarantee you the right to maybe not go to prison.
But you're willing to take the risk?
Yes, I am. Because I want to tell the truth. I'll tell you, if there's something I've learned in the last few weeks is you cannot sacrifice honesty, even though it might seem like a good idea at the time.
Then you have my full support.
Going to prison might not seem like such a high price to pay for regaining some respect.
Well, then it's settled. You're going to plead not guilty, and Eden and I will do everything we can to back you up. We're going to fight this together, Mom. Aren't we, Eden?
So here you are. Yeah. It looks like a bomb drop.
Yeah, I got a little carried away looking for the bomb that you were intending to drop. Nearly tore up the floorboards. Unfortunately, I forgot about the walls.
I'll never find a better hiding place than that, will I?
I guess not. How's Brandon?
He's fine. I read him a story and he went right to sleep. Mason, thank you.
Oh, no need to thank me, Gina. Didn't really have much choice, did I?
Either did I. Mason, I was desperate. I was afraid that you would feel sorry for Santana and then you'd...
Is that why you think I did it? Because you threatened me?
I'm sorry, Mason. All I could think of was that I might lose Brandon.
I did it for Brandon, Gina. There was no other consideration. You could have waved 10 wills at me, Gina. If I'd honestly felt that Brandon would be better off with Santana, well, I would have told him the truth. So don't delude yourself into thinking that you pushed me into doing something that I didn't believe in.
Oh, whatever your reasons were, I'm grateful. That's all I'm trying to say.
Brandon's one of the few people around here who accepts me for what I am. No conditions, no demands. I'd do anything to keep him happy.
I'm glad you think I can keep him happy.
He loves you. You represent security and warmth to him. No child should be without that. Take it from somebody who was.
Mason, can you forgive me for trying to use Cece's will against you?
Only because I know how much it would have hurt you too. That will cuts you out of everything as well as me. When I saw that you were willing to give up everything just to keep Brandon, well...
Well, now you know how much I love that little boy.
I guess I do.
I'll do a lot for the people I love. Mason, why don't you put me to the test,
Oh, Gina, you are amazing. 1 minute you're yelling off with his head, and the next you're all sweetness and light.
Well, there's sweetness and then there's sweetness. But you really don't want to be too sweet or you'll lose all the fun.
What kind of fun are you talking about?
Have you forgotten already? I guess I'll have to remind you. Mason, it's been much too long.
With good reason. We seem to get ourselves into trouble when we let nature follow her time-honored course. What's that perfume you're wearing?
I'm not wearing any perfume. Does Mary wear perfume?
What?
You heard me. What do you do together anyway? Do you sit around and discuss Bible stories? Mason, I think she's a very nice girl. But a man like you can't spend all his time having deep discussions. Don't you get a little crazy for something more?
I'm not spending time with Mary for that.
I know you're not, Mason. I don't blame you. Come on, let's go upstairs.
Well, what's the rush? Why don't we just stay down here for a little while?
Here in the study? What are we going to do here in the study?
Oh, plenty. We'll cuddle up in front of a roaring fire, get very cozy.
What fire? You show me your fireplace.
Who needs a fireplace? We can burn the will right there in that wastebasket.
Oh, I should have known. All you want is to get your hands on that will.
Well, that's not all I want, but it would certainly fuel my fire.
Well, I don't have it on me, so just forget about it.
Tell me where it is. I'll go get it.
Mason, you better watch it, or I'm going to begin to think that, well, that you really don't want me.
Oh, I wouldn't want you to think that. I definitely wouldn't want you to think that.
Oh, then stop talking about the will.
Okay,
You promise?
I promise.
Good. Then I'm gonna go upstairs and get ready. And in a few minutes, you come up and join me. Okay?
How will I know when you're ready? Close my eyes, count to 100.
Mason, use your own judgment. But remember, no more talk about papers.
No papers.
I'll see you soon.
Sure why I'm here.
Listen, I drew up a preliminary contract if you want to take a look at
I think
it.
that's why I came back, to sign some stupid contract.
Listen, if that's how you feel about this,
I told you the way I feel about it. I feel like none of this has to do with contracts or any of this other garbage you're pretending to be concerned with. Now, are you going to tell me what's wrong with you or not?
We have come to a fork in the road. It's time we went our separate ways, Kelly.
Where do you get that, Nick? From a fortune cookie? What is this? If you want me out of your life, at least tell me in your own words. What did I do that was so terrible?
It's not your fault, Kelly.
What's not my fault?
You have no control over your feelings.
I'll tell you the way I feel. I feel like you and I were becoming closer, you know, and that something wonderful was happening between us. And then I go for a walk, I come back, and suddenly it's as if I dreamed the whole thing.
Yes, Kelly, but these something wonderful happening between us feelings, it means a friendship to you, doesn't it?
I thought it was pretty obvious that I thought of us more than friends.
Kelly, you can't have it both ways.
What are you talking about, both ways?
You live in two worlds. There's your dream world where you still live happily ever after with Joe. Then there's the real world with me. I can't share you that way, Kelly. I just can't.
You're so wrong about Joe, Nick. It's not like that.
No, am I? I saw the letter that you wrote to him.
Oh, no.
You don't write a letter to someone who's dead unless he's very much alive in your heart.
You're so wrong.
Am I? Kelly, I followed you. I saw you standing next to his grave. I saw the tears in your eyes. I saw you ever so gently lay that love letter next to his stone.
Love letter? Is that what you thought?
I'm sorry, Kelly. I don't mean to blame you. The time you had with Joe was obviously the high point of your entire life.
Look, I won't deny you that. Joe was the first man I ever loved, and we took so much to be together that when he died, it was hard to let go. Don't you understand that? But I've changed in the last few months, and I began to feel differently, as if I could let go. And it was all because of you.
Because of me?
It wasn't a love letter that I put on Joe's grave.
Wasn't it?
Look, I don't expect you to take my word for it. I want you to go see for yourself what I wrote to him. Go on, what are you waiting for? You know where it is. Go read it.
Kelly,
come on, you're not going to understand until you read it for yourself. Go read it.
Candlelight? Since when do you waste time on atmosphere, Gina?
Since I reconsidered your suggestion.
What suggestion?
Well, I thought you were all gung-ho for a bonfire. Or have you changed your mind?
Oh, no. May I?
Why?
Well, that may be an old apartment lease, for all I know. Last will and testament. You mean you really consent to burn this right in front of my very eyes?
Well, when you said that would add fuel to your passion, I got to thinking. Maybe it's worth it. Am I right?
Gina, if you burn this will, the expression "there'll be a hot time in the old town tonight" will take on a whole new meaning.
No, that's all I need to hear. Would you like to do the honors?
Oh, I'd be delighted. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
You know, Cece really never should have tried to get revenge on us. He should have known we would stick together. And two heads are better than one.
Always a phrase maker, huh, Gina?
You're making fun of me.
Never.
Prove it.
As I see it, it depends on Ted now. I mean, Kelly's made her feelings known. You know my position. Whatever Ted says will be which way we go.
A majority vote, is that what it is, Eden? 2/3 of the Capwell children voting so we can make a definitive decision.
Something like that?
You're so much like your father, using corporate tactics for personal matters.
Look, I was only trying to be fair.
I know you were. And I also know that you have borne the brunt of everything since your father got sick. But sometimes, baby, when you try to take on too much, it can harden a person. You don't have time to feel. It's damn the emotion full speed ahead. I don't want to see that happening to you.
You're talking as if it already has.
Eden, your father's a tough act to follow, and I know you keep asking yourself, what would he do? What would he say in this situation? And there is nothing wrong with that unless you lose sight of what you would do or what you're feeling. I don't want you to cut off your natural impulses just because you might feel the need to be like somebody else.
I'm not. I am doing what I think is right.
I only bring this up because I love you and I don't want you to be obsessed with responsibilities and lose sight of human values. That's what your father did, and that's why he had a stroke.
That, and the fact that the woman he loved more than anything in the world disappointed him and let him down.
Eden, I take full responsibility for my part in your father's illness. But the life he led paved the road for what happened.
And your life, Mother, was all a lie.
And I regret that. You have no idea how much I regret that. And I regret my selfishness, my cowardness, all those mistakes of youth. And I thought I could make up for it, Eden. I thought I could make up for it by being a wonderful mother and by being a good wife. Well, I couldn't do it. I learned that that just can't be done. Can't you, just for a minute, put yourself in my place? All those years ago, I was so young, and I was frightened, and I was pregnant, Eden, with the wrong man's child. I would never do something like that again, and I know that doesn't make any difference, but if you could just, for a minute, understand, maybe you could forgive me.
Why is my forgiveness so important to you?
Because I love you. You're my flesh and my blood. You're my child. And without your love and your forgiveness, I don't have anything. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive me?
Well, have you come to a decision on the plea?
My mother feels very strongly about pleading not guilty. Now, I will do everything I can to keep her out of prison. But there's only so much that she can expect each of us to do.
So, am I to call Jack and tell him that you don't want to work out a deal?
No. Tell Jack that I'm going to plead guilty to involuntary manslaughter.
Sophia? Well, I just thought Eden said...
I know. But there's no reason to put the entire family through a trial. Tell Jack that and ask him what he can do.
All right. It's the right decision. I don't think you'll regret it.
I hope not.
Okay, well, I'll do that right now. I'll make the call right now.
Thank you.
Look, I understand why you feel the way you do.
Excuse me, Cruz. I have to go to the guest house.
Certainly.
Yeah, Dad, it's me. I'm at the Capitals right now. Yes, I just told her. Well, look, it's been kind of a long evening here. Why don't I just tell you where we're at right now, all right? The fact is, Mrs. Armonti has agreed to enter into a plea of guilty if you think we can get her off in a suspended sentence. Yes. Yes. Well, I'll tell her that. Oh, yes, one more thing. I think you got a call from the commissioner. Yeah, Cruz mentioned that. He seemed kind of curious about it. Was he able to get in touch with you? Cruz what? He quit? I didn't realize that. Why, is that because you tried to send him to Miami? Yeah, he's that kind of guy. Yeah, fine, all right. That'll work out great. Okay, we'll talk tomorrow. Well, that was Jack. He seems to feel the same way. The plea bargain is the best way to go at this point.
I can't believe that she accepted that.
So he's going to move on it right away?
Yeah, absolutely. First thing tomorrow morning. Oh, by the way, he talked to the commissioner.
What happened?
Not much, I guess, with... Apparently, if a guy quits, it's kind of hard to get him reinstated.
Man, I never asked anyone to speak for me. That was Eden's doing.
Well, I'll tell you what. Jack wanted me to mention this to you, Cruz. The fact is, if you do decide to go for reinstatement, he said they'll be very receptive.
Well, good. They know where I live. I'm not going to go begging those guys.
Suit yourself.
Thanks, Kirk. And if you talk to Jack before I do, thank him for putting a word in. If Cruz doesn't appreciate it, at least I do.
She's right. I don't appreciate it.
That was wonderful.
Well, was I right? The flames fanned my ardor to dizzying heights.
Yes.
You surprised me, Gina. I never really thought you'd burn that will. Just goes to show I don't know you as well as I thought I did.
Yes, you do.
Why?
You know me, Mason. You were positive I wouldn't burn that will, and you were right.
But I saw. I read those papers. They were copies.
20 cents a page at the drugstore. I didn't even have to go there because CC has his own offset copier. Lucky for me, it was dark in here, huh?
You know, Gina, maybe you're right about us.
What do you mean?
Well, you keep saying we belong together. And when you pull something like this, I'd almost have to agree. How could I resist somebody so much like me?
I don't know.
Sweet and simple love. We spend a lifetime trying to find the life we're dreaming of. Like to fill our hearts with
My darling Joe,
sweet and simple days.
I've always loved you, and I always will. I think of you so often and feel you close to me. But seeing your sister so happy today made me realize how right that is, and I know you'd want that for me. Daddy's so sick now, and he could die any time. And I guess it all makes me realize how short life is. You taught me a lot about loving, and so I'm gonna try to live and find love and be as happy as I can. I'm not being disloyal to you when I tell you I've come to care for a very fine man. It's taken me a long time to realize it, but I know now that I love him. So this is like saying goodbye to you in a way, even though I know that you and I will always be a part of each other. With all my love, Kelly.
We spend a lifetime trying to find the light.
Well, don't forget, Santa Barbara can be seen here again on Sky One on Monday afternoon at 2:20. In half an hour, we've comedy with the Brady Bunch. But after the break, it's time for the Friday Wife of the Week. Don't go away.